Hi, everyone. My special guest for today's video is Jessica Vittas. She is a university recruiter for KPMG at UCLA, Loyola Marymount University, and Cal State Northridge. As you know, KPMG is one of the four largest accounting firms in the world. Now, in case you don't know, Jessica did a video with me about a year ago called Networking Tips that my students have told me was very, very helpful. Therefore, if you haven't checked out that video, I encourage you to do so. I've known Jessica for a couple of years now, mainly because she heavily is involved in recruiting at UCLA, where I teach part-time as a lecturer. Recently, I reached out to her to see if she could come to a workshop for my students on personal branding at Santa Monica College, where I teach full-time. Since many of my students will be running into her sooner or later, I thought it'd be a good idea to do another video of her so as to let my students know a little bit more about her as a person. Jessica, thank you again for coming to do another video with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Since I started my YouTube channel about 2 years ago, maybe not 2 years ago, maybe about a year ago, I've had a lot of fantastic guests, but you are the first guest I've actually invited back a second time. So thank you so much for making time to come do another video with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Well, wonderful. My first question for you is this. You graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo with a bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in accounting. What made you decide to pursue a career in accounting instead of something else like marketing? Was it an accounting professor that inspired you? Perhaps it was your summer internship with KPMG, or did you just simply like what you studied in your accounting classes?
That's a great question. So when I was in high school, middle school, my favorite subject was math. That was my strength. So I actually had originally wanted to go study architecture, which is why Cal Poly was a school that I looked at because they have an amazing architecture program. But I soon found out that that was not going to be the major for me, especially once I took an accounting course in high school that I really enjoyed and I was doing really well in. And we also we were shared or asked to watch a video that shared different professions that you could go into as an accountant. So different companies that you could work for. I'm a huge sports fan, so one of the professions that they shared was a manager that was working for an arena football team as their, finance manager or accountant. And I love that. I love that idea of being a part of a sports team, but using my accounting knowledge. So that's kind of what hooked me in to accounting. And it worked out that Cal Poly also has an amazing business program, which is where I concentrated in accounting.
Well, great. Thanks for sharing that. My second question is, I know a lot of recruiters from different accounting firms. However, you are probably among the few I know that has a very long history of industry and work experience before you switched to working in HR and recruiting. Just to let my viewers know, Jessica actually worked 3 years in KPMG in audit. Next, she worked as a manager for 5 years in accounting and finance at Mattel. Then she worked 1 year as a finance director at a company called Wonderspaces before coming back to KPMG to work in recruiting. Lastly, she passed the CPA exam and obtained her license, which is something not every accounting recruiter has accomplished. Given her strong technical skills, given your strong technical skills and industry experience, I would think, Jessica, you would have wanted to come back to KPMG and work potentially as an audit senior manager, director, or even a partner. What made you want to switch roles and go into HR and recruiting?
Yes, I would have loved to come back as a partner. I think that would have been a great experience. But the real reason why I decided to switch career paths was from an experience I went through in my personal life that really taught me about taking advantage of opportunities to live your full authentic self. And for me, what I was doing in my profession or my professional career, I didn't feel fulfilled. So I guess you could call it a midlife crisis. But I am so grateful for the opportunities that I've had, and the work experiences that I've been able to have in the 11 years I've been working. And I'm very humbled as well. I don't think my career path is typical, and I think that I'm very lucky to have had those experiences. But what all of those experiences taught me was that my biggest strength and what makes me feel fulfilled at the end of the day is working with people and building relationships with those people. That was my strength across the board. And that's why I'm so glad that I majored in accounting, because accounting allows you to work in so many different types of industries and work with different types of clients, or just the work type that you're on. Wonderspaces was a company that was a startup, so I was able to get a peek into the startup world and wear many different hats as the finance director. And because of that, it really taught me that building relationships and my ability to connect with people was something that I really wanted to use full time in my role, or what I was doing as my job. And it all comes back to my days in audit at KPMG, because that's where my foundation of my soft skills really was built. I was a 24-year-old coming out of college and learning how to build relationships and connect with people who were 10, 15 years my senior, potentially, if they were an older client or something like that. And I'm so grateful to have had that experience and to have been able to build upon that as I progress through my career.
Well, very well said. I think it's great that you're now in HR, and doing a great job working with my students and inspiring them to
Yeah,
work in accounting.
thank
Um,
you.
Something else I wanted to ask, you always come across as an upbeat and charismatic person. And that's why I always enjoy talking to you. Obviously, charisma is essential to working in recruiting, but I'm sure it was also helpful when you used to work in auditing at KPMG, as well as when you worked in accounting and finance at Mattel and Wonderspaces. I wanted to ask, how much of a person's charisma do you feel is innate, and how much of it can be learned over time, like accounting? If a good deal can be learned over time, how would you suggest a student go about learning and improving their charisma?
So I think a better way to phrase charisma, or a different way to think about it, is learning how to build confidence in who you are. And I feel it's not about, being able to say you have this trait or not. It's about the journey of you building that confidence, of understanding who you are personally and professionally. There are differences, but there is the same theme of it is you at the end of the day. And that also comes to mind for me. Everyone has a gift to bring to the table. Everyone has something unique to bring to the table. And I think it can be your charisma, it can be your technical skills, it could be you having a photographic memory, which I wish I had. It could be, your ability to catch onto things really quickly. Whatever it is, you have a innate, unique trait that no one else has that you can bring to the table. And I think over time, you at KPMG especially, you're surrounded by high performers. You're surrounded by people who are eager to learn, who are eager to help each other, who are eager to grow in their profession. And what you're given the opportunity to do is find where your strengths are and build upon those. So we're not asking you to fit a mold. We're not asking you to, you're lacking in this area, why don't you build on your charisma? It's more of, let's find what your strength is and let's give you the opportunity to build upon that. And I think I have a senior manager that I work really closely with, and she always says that what's great about the audit room, the audit engagement room, is that you essentially learn through osmosis. You learn through listening to people. You learn through listening to conversations about, a manager giving the senior associate review comments. You learn through conversations at the board meeting. You may not be participating, but you're hearing the conversations that are being had. And through that, you can learn how to be, have more comfort in managing or leading conversations with other professionals. You pool different things that you may not have known before and that you're comfortable with using, or you realize that's not really where my strengths are. I actually really like being in the data. I like being, close to the system. I want to understand how this works. At the end of the day, either way, you're learning what you can really bring to the table and build on your strengths. So I think coming back to your question, it's really about over time understanding who you are as a professional and how we can really let that shine.
Finally, I always ask my guests this question, so I'm going to ask you this as well, because I consider you a very successful person. What would you say are your 3 keys to success in life?
My 3 keys to success in life. I do feel like these change as you progress in your career, but I would say right now, my 3 keys to success are having an open mind. You never know what you can learn. You never know what opportunity may be given. And it's usually when we are the most uncomfortable where we learn the most. So having an open mind. Number 2 would be never say no to a mentorship opportunity. We need each other to grow. So mentoring is super important. That's how I've grown a lot in my career. And number 3 is really something I've been trying to be better at. It's really helped me, especially pivoting to a brand new career. But remembering that failure is feedback and it has no representation of who you are. I think a lot of people can feel that failure takes them, 10 steps back, where it can actually be looked at as an opportunity to learn and develop more and be pulled as feedback on how you can be better next time or how you can do better next time. So I would say those are my 3 keys to success.
Jessica, I've done a lot of these videos now, and I said before, I always try to ask my guests 3 keys for success. Those 3 that you provided, I've actually never heard before. So those are very well thought out.
Yeah,
Very,
awesome.
very good. Very, very good tips. So Jessica, it was a pleasure chatting with you today and letting my students get to know you a little bit more about you as a person. And also, obviously, thank you for those 3 awesome tips for success. I
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you again at a future campus recruiting event.
Thank you so much for having me today. I really, really appreciate it and feel very honored that I am your first repeat guest on your YouTube channel.
Well, the first video that you did with me, I've said this before, actually has had the most views. So hopefully this one will also generate a lot of excitement among students. So thank you very much.